places for regular voting in the City of Laurel general election on Tuesday, November 7th, 2017. Ms. Rao?
Thank you, Mr. President. This resolution sets forth the polling locations for the November 7th, 2017 election. Ward 1 will be here at the Laurel Municipal Center, and Ward 2 will be at the Robert J. DePietro Community Center, just like the last election in 2015. That's all I have.
Okay, and that worked out well. Any questions of Ms. Rao? Okay, we'll have the first public hearing on this at the Mayor and City Council meeting on Monday, March 13th. Move to agenda item number 2, resolution number 7-17, a resolution to set the dates, times, and polling places for early voting in the City of Laurel general election on Tuesday, November 7th, 2017. Ms. Rao?
Mr. President, this resolution, as it says, sets the date and time and polling location for early voting. Again, this year, we will be doing early voting on the Saturday before Election Day. The polls will be open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. here at the Laurel Municipal Center, and there'll only be one early voting location.
Okay, Ms. Rao, and that's what we had last time, and that seemed to work out well.
That's correct.
Okay, any questions of Ms. Rao? Okay, so this will be first public hearing at the Mayor and City Council meeting on Monday, March 13th, 2017.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rao. Agenda item number 3, consideration of a bid recommendation automatic speed enforcement contract with Brekford. Chief, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mr. President, council members. Just to clarify the record, or for the record, this is the automated speed enforcement program. It's not an automatic speed enforcement, so it was a typo on my behalf.
Automated.
Automated, correct.
Okay.
The current contract with Brekford Corporation will expire as of May 31st, 2017. As a result, we did some checking around. We found that Calvert County had recently conducted a request for proposal that was awarded to Brekford Corporation, which is also available for us to use and to have the same factors. The current cost, or the cost will be $3,100 per month per revenue generating site. So we have some of the decoy boxes, we have some of the speed display signs. We will not be billed on that. We will build only on anything that is generating funds. And that would be available for a period of 3 years, so it would be another 3-year contract. As you may recall, in 2014, House Bill 929 required the change of the pricing structure. We used to pay per citation collected. They no longer allow that, so we're going to a flat fee of $3,100 per month per site. And that's what's recommended per the contract, or that's what the contract allows for. Based on the existing affiliation with Brekford Corporation, both through the police department, the citizens, and finance, I'm recommending that we maintain our contract with them and that we ride this the contract available through Calvert County. So it's my recommendation that we award this contract back to Brekford for another 3-year term on our automated speed enforcement.
Okay, so the $3,100 per recording device.
Yes, sir. We have 7. We have 7 sites at this point.
And that is per month?
That is per month, per site per month.
Okay. And then, so the tickets that have a fine associated with them, since it's speeding, what's the, if you could just remind me how that's split up?
Currently, it's a $40 fine.
Right.
We're paying, I believe, $25 per citation that's collected.
Okay.
So that's what our current rate is, and we're paying in excess of what is proposed based on this contract.
Okay, and we have there's a maximum we can collect. Is that correct, Michelle?
10% of the operating budget.
Right, and it all goes into use for vehicular and pedestrian safety.
Correct.
If I remember correctly. Okay.
And it's not used for budgeting. It's not used
Right,
for balancing of the budget.
right.
It's totally separate account.
Okay. Of course, our goal is to decrease the number of people speeding.
And it has been very effective. Everywhere the cameras have gone have resulted in a slower
Excellent.
speeds.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Michelle?
during FY16, taking the expenditure that we had for the processing fees divided by 12 months and the 7 sites, we actually paid $4,300.
Okay. All right, excellent. Questions of the chief or Ms. Saylor?
Well, it sounds like the price went down.
No, it went up.
You said we were paying 4,300?
Oh, I'm sorry.
An average, right, at $4,300 per site,
site.
Now
average.
we're paying 31.
Now we would be paying 31, so it's,
Well, and the built-in factor of the contract is if the site does not pay for itself, we only pay for what the site produces.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. President, we're still very happy with Brekford and their service.
I am. We've had some complaints from citizens. They're addressed immediately. They're very responsive to our needs. I believe Michelle will tell you that their finances are perfect as far as working with us on everything. I've not had any major issues with them at all.
Excellent. Anything else?
Mr. President, just as a side note, but still basically in the same category, I've noticed that some judges and jurisdictions have been letting people go with the right turn on red. I'd just like to know, if I could, what kind of a problem that would create for us.
That's not part of this contract. That's a separate, but again, maybe we can handle it this way, Mr. Ricks. Why don't we ask the chief to do some research, and the administration can then send us a memo about what they're finding out about that.
I can do that, or I can attempt to address the question.
No, why don't you go ahead and do some research, chief?
Yes, sir.
I know we also have a problem with handicap parking fines. We have some judges don't want to assess the fine. But again, so if we have a problem, then maybe behoove us as a council to go ahead and send a letter to the judge. Say, what are you doing? Or ask MML to, huh?
No, thank you.
In fact, I'm going to get Mr. Ricks to write that and sign it.
I would veto that.
Are you all for that, Ms. Prairie? But again, I think.
I just because I'm hearing it and seeing it, I just wanted to know what kind of an impact that would have on the city.
Okay, so we'll let the chief get back to us on that. I do know that the new stoplight cameras, in fact, can detect that, correct? If you don't stop on the right turn.
Yes, sir, and left turns also.
Okay, real good. So this is, if everybody's in agreement, we'll go ahead and this will be on the agenda for Monday night for approval.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Agenda item number 4, consideration of bid recommendation for Whitecoat and pool repairs, Greenview Drive and Municipal Pool.
Good evening, Mr. President. During a recent inspection of the pools to determine our work schedule for the upcoming season, it was determined that the plaster, tiles, copings, and skimmers were in need of repair in both the main pool and wade pool at the Greenview Drive complex and in the diving well at the Municipal Pool complex. Additionally, the Greenview Drive pool motor is in need of replacement with a new contact switch with dedicated line for the chemical feeder. Given the work to be done to replace the plaster, it seemed like the opportune time to upgrade the underwater lights to new LED lights. Greenview Pool was plastered in 2010, and 4 of the skimmers were replaced, but the remaining skimmers have received patching over the years to address leaks, but it's no longer feasible to repatch the skimmers, coping, and tile that is original to the facility when we purchased it. Additionally, repairs are necessary in the diving well at the Municipal Pool to address some water loss, significant water loss that we have through cracks in the plaster and in the skimmer bodies. The scope of the work includes prep and replastering of the main pool and wade pool at Greenview Drive and the diving well at the Municipal Pool, removing and replacing 10 skimmers, repairing rebar and concrete around the skimmer bodies, replacing coping stone and tile around the water line where required, retiling the expansion joint in the main pool, replacing the main pool motor, and installing an auxiliary contact dedicated to the chemical feeder. The underwater light fixtures will be fitted with new LED lights. So in an effort to expedite the work that we need to have completed before the opening of this season, we solicited 3 companies, provided bid packages, had an opportunity for the companies to view the site, and received the following sealed bids. Pearl out of Rockville, Maryland, for $109,588. American Pool out of Columbia, Maryland, $93,809.18. And Continental Pools, which actually picked up the packet, did the inspection of the pool, but declined to submit a bid. So funding is available through the current CIP and major facility maintenance. And after reviewing the bids, our recommendation is that the mayor and city council accept the proposal by American Pools for $93,809.18.
Okay, Ms. Barr, any questions?
The $109,000 from Pearl, did you see any noticeable differences as to why their price was higher?
No, everything was exactly, they all bid the same. Everything was exactly the same. That was just the price that they submitted.
Any other questions? Ms. Crary?
The handicap entrance at the municipal pool. Have we looked at that?
The handicap entrance to the...
Actually, it's a removable handicap.
The lift, or which...
It's a plastic with,
Well, the
Non-skid
ramp,
Yes,
you're speaking about
the ramp.
The ramp is not actually considered one of our areas of egress for handicap accessibility. Our requirement is to have the steps with handles and the lift, the actual pool lift. The ramp is just an additional feature that we added, knowing that people could use it.
okay, let me call it the old people ramp that need a little
That,
assistance.
it's not actually considered by the county standards as part of our handicap accessible ADA compliance.
Is that something that we could look into as far as repairs? I
Sure.
noticed last year.
Absolutely.
I know these stand out, but if we're having them look at all of these things, I noticed that,
The removable, you're speaking about the removable ramp?
yes.
Yes. Mhm.
Exactly. Thank
These
you.
days I represent
Let me turn off my mic.
Any other comments or questions? And this work can all be done in time for the pools to open?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So if everybody's in agreement, this will be on the agenda for the meeting on March 13th for approval. Thank you, Ms. Barr. Agenda item number 5, consideration of bid recommendation for street patching. Rob Faree, you have the floor.
Good evening, thank you. We presently have a contract with Espina Paving doing various asphalt work around town. I thought we'd take this opportunity and see if we could extend their contract, LA 1701, using $70,000 worth of GOB funds that are presently in the Public Works operating budget. By doing this, various areas like some deep patching on Main Street and Van Dusen Road, things that are extremely hard for our crews to do because of the amount of traffic, this would save us some $7,000 in mobilization fees.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Faree? Ms. Crary?
Again, the city's being torn up all over the place. I see BG&E actually painted on some of the patches, and it looks like the fire hydrants are being replaced. Is that what's going on? Is WSSC tearing up, or who's doing that contract work?
Well, BG&E is putting in new gas lines in various areas, and WSSC is bringing in and changing to new fire hydrants all over. We're keeping on them, and when they're done, we're making them actually do, according to our codes, go to 25 feet on each side of our patches, or their cuts. And in some instances, we're almost getting the entire roads redone at the end.
And didn't they just come through last year and tear up the roads, at least on Montrose?
That's correct. And that was a sewer, and now they're doing water. They cannot get, I don't understand why they cannot talk to each other and do these at the same time. They actually did the same thing on Montgomery before we finally got all that work done. Came through first, tore up, put sewer in, then came back and tore it up and did water.
Right. Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one frustrated. Thank you.
Marty,
Ms.
would you like to
Nicholas.
speak on that?
Question, do you have a number of like how many locations to be repaired just right off? Do you know how many streets?
Well, I know that we have some on Main. There are a few on Van Dusen Road. We had some out on Cypress Street in Mulberry. There was a lot of patches that we depicted on heavily trafficked areas, but I could actually probably give you a better list. I just don't have that list with me.
Okay, you can share with all of us if you can. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Ricks?
while we're talking about tearing up, Route 1 through the city is in terrible shape. And if there's anything we could do, it would be very, very helpful to everyone before we start losing tires and hubcaps.
I know that we've worked with the state and we've talked to BG&E and WSSC. You're talking about going south just past, I believe it starts right there at Gorman, and it's terrible all the way up to you get past the shopping center. We've been told that they actually have to open them back up before they complete them.
But they ought to put something over top of it so it doesn't do the damage that it's doing. When they get ready to tear it up, that's fine. But for now, it's unacceptable to be what it is.
I'll see if I can't get hold of the state and see if they can put some pressure on them. I know we've talked to them, but we really don't have a lot of jurisdiction over the state roads.
Thank you, Mr. Ricks. Thank you, Mr. Free. So this will be on the agenda for the Mayor and City Council meeting on Monday, March 13th for approval. Move to agenda item number 6, CIP Budget Amendment. Ms. Saylor, you have the floor.
This ordinance modifies modifies 2 projects. The information technology project, taking accumulated savings and providing for changes in scope to address the voice recording system at the Laurel Police Department, as well as additional security software for the enterprise network, with a focus on enhanced cybersecurity. So there's no change in money in that project, just utilizing, like I said, accumulated savings from previous projects. For the pool, Ms. Barr explained the work that needs to be done. There is $200,000 in the Main Street pool project, and so we're proposing to move $60,000 of those funds to the Greenview Drive facility. The hazard mitigation is a new project, and as the narrative describes, the City of Laurel is required to provide our own hazard assessment for inclusion in the Prince George's County 5-year hazard mitigation plan. These funds are proposed to come from the public safety surcharge fee that we collect at the time of building permits. And actually that is proposed to be $40,000 and not the $34,000 in the description. So it's really only an overall net increase of $40,000 to the CIP.
Pretty straightforward, but let me ask
I would respectfully request that you do, if that's,
Because you want to mobilize the people as soon as you can to get the work done. Is that correct?
if we could get the ordinance approved, and then you could award Ms. Barr's bid recommendation. I think there is also a time constraint on the hazard mitigation plan.
Yes.
The all hazard mitigation plan that we jointly produced with Prince George's County is in the process of being prepared now. It's actually pretty close to the final stages. The information that we hope to obtain from this report will help to finalize the Laurel section of that plan. We anticipate having to submit our information inside of 3 weeks for completion of the document in a month and a half.
Okay, so the funding that's included in the CIP, is part of that?
It pays for the study of the river to provide the data that we need to put in the report.
Agenda item number 7, resolution number 517, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel approving the designation of a sustainable community and an application thereof. Therefore, Mr. Brock, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the year 2011, the city submitted an application and was designated a sustainable community. That designation is good for 5 years and has expired. The resolution that is before you is for the endorsement of the application for the renewal and authorizes the city administrator to sign the application and other applicable documents.
All right, before I move to any questions, is this endorsement time critical? Can this wait till the second meeting in March, Jack?
Yes, sir, it can. It has to be submitted by April 1st.
Okay, real good. All right, questions of Jack on this agenda item? Okay, no questions. We'll go ahead and,
Mr. President.
I'm sorry, Mr.
I'd like to
Ricks.
be added on as a sponsor.
Sure. All right. If there's no other questions, this will be on the agenda for the Mayor and City Council meeting of March 13th for the first reading. Move to agenda item number 8, ordinance number 1903, text amendment number 245, an ordinance amending Laurel City Code, Chapter 20, to amend Section 20-1.9 to define brewery and to amend Section 20-9.5 industrial zones to permit a brewery by special exception in the IG zone. Mr. Brock, you have the floor.
Yes, Mr. President. The text amendment that is before you was applied for by Glass Valve Brewing, which is a microbrewery. They're requesting the amendment of the industrial zones in order to have a microbrewery as a special exception. The text amendment provides, since it hasn't been done before, provides a definition of a brewery and also amends the table of industrial uses to allow it as a special exception in an IG. The applicant is proposing to produce 1,000 barrels in the first year, and a barrel is 31 gallons. This is not a pub. They would have the brewery there. You could go into the tap room. It doesn't have a kitchen. You can taste the product, or you could buy growlers, where you can take the growler back and have it refilled.
Okay, questions of Mr. Brock?
Mr. President.
Mr. Ricks?
Have we received some kind of a indication that a brewery is trying to come to Laurel?
Yes. The brewery is the one that submitted the application for the text amendment.
So we're thinking about putting this in the IG,
Yes, sir.
and only in the IG.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask for the rationale for that? And I'm thinking the way that these startup breweries are sometimes just as much a part of the commercial zone as anything else would be, like a restaurant or something like that, that a restaurateur would then have as part of that business his own particular brewery. So why do we want to put this in just an industrial type of atmosphere?
Well, the applicant is looking for at property on Lafayette, which is an IG industrial zone. to
That's all
place that.
well and good, but does that restrict us? Or should it restrict us from, if someone wanted to take Fred Frederick's old car thing and make a restaurant and a brewery out of it, would that would kill this?
You would have to have another text amendment, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ricks. Let me make a couple observations. First of all, 7,500 barrels is a lot of brew. That's a large amount for a microbrewery. Okay? The other thing that we don't define, it says malt beverages of low alcoholic content. What does that mean, John? I mean, if I go to, is there a limit to the alcoholic content?
Yeah, I don't know why that actual wording is in there, but I mean, generally, beer is what, 6%?
Well, it could be more than
or
that. It could be 12%, depends where you are in the world.
Right, but normally, I think he's looking for the normal amount, which is, 6%.
Well, my suggestion would be to take that low alcoholic content out of here. Because he might have one that's, 3.5, he might have 6, he might have one that's 8. But my suggestion is to take that out. Malt beverages means that you're talking about beer or mead or something like that. I would think that would be enough definition. They're not down there, brewing 112 proof something or another. But again, that's just a suggestion. As far as it appearing in the IG zone, I think that's a start, and let's see how it works out.
Well, again, my problem is this city is growing. And I don't think we want to shoot ourselves in the foot by some smaller operation in a restaurant type of an atmosphere, and you can think of many of them, that we would then have to turn away or have to do a special exception.
I agree with that, Mr. Ricks. I think that the fact that this is a first step in the direction of allowing a microbrewery would indicate to somebody that comes to the city that, hey, you've got an elected body that's willing to listen to your proposals. And, there's some zones I don't think you want to put a microbrewery into. There may be, look,
I don't want to put it in residential.
Except your bathtub, right? But again, there may come a time when somebody shows up and said that they're going to go ahead and they're going to bottle wine here. Not grow the grapes, not press the grapes, but they're going to get it trucked in a tanker from California. Because I know somebody that does that to Pittsburgh, and they bottle it there. Or they might say, hey, we want to set up a microbrewery, and it's going to be small, what do they call it, small batch rye and scotch. And somebody may come and decide they want to do that here.
Well, people are in this business are making small batches of wine.
Well, they're making small batches of whiskey, too. And all I'm saying is, I think this is a good start. That's my point. Without allowing, free-for-all, we'll see how this goes.
No, I mean, I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah.
Just that I just don't want to restrict our growth.
I think that, well,
And I
I
don't
agree
drink
with
beer,
that.
so it doesn't matter to me.
I agree with you, but I think that looking back over the last 20 years, this city's been pretty responsive to changing our zoning ordinance to accommodate different types of ventures. I mean, some people tell me they're not all good, but again, don't shake your head, Mr. Fleming. He's shaking his head like this. But again, I mean, look, people forget that Laurel Lakes was all supposed to be high-density apartments. The whole development. The whole development was in the county, it was all high-density apartments. And I remember that very clear when Frank Casula came to a couple people on the planning commission and said, you know, you need to do something about that. Well, Frank, you're on the county council, do something about it. But he couldn't. His hands were tied. Because in their master plan, it called for high-density apartments. Okay, so when I look at some of the things we have done and how we've changed the zoning, it's not spot zoning, it's just zoning that conforms to the needs of the community. And again, in this case, before we let it go willy-nilly, I think we need to see how it works out in one zone.
No, I'm
All
fine
right,
with
okay,
that. I
excellent.
really am. I just,
And if John has no objections, I would suggest to take out the low alcoholic content. That allows some latitude to the brewmaster. Okay, anything else?
Mr. President,
Barry?
Mr. Brock,
Yes, ma'am.
who will be handling the sludge on something like this that occurs from the process of making beer? Are they licensed by the health department? Are they licensed by us? What happens?
They're licensed by the state.
Okay. So county health won't be in on something like this?
That would be my best guess.
Okay. So we don't know on the waste of a product like this, where it will go? I mean, it won't just go into the sewer system, or how do we watch? I mean, we just voted to become a sustainable community again. We should maybe look into this a little bit further. And I too am concerned if we should just call it a brewery, or, you know, a craft brewery, or just limit it to the number of gallons per year and keep it to a small brewery to begin with, and just,
Under state regulations, it's considered a Class 5 brewery.
Class 5.
For this size,
Yes, sir.
for 7,500 barrels a year.
Maximum.
Okay, seems like a nice size. Thank you.
Anything else?
John, by taking out that verbiage that Mike is asking, does that prevent them from doing like a beer that has a low alcohol content? Okay.
I don't think it does that.
Because, okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so there's no other comments?
I'd just like to say for the public's, I hope we're being broadcast, that we're going to, Ward 1 is going to have a cleanup again, and we do it about every 3 months, on April the 1st in the 300, almost 400 block of Montgomery Street. So anybody that would like to come out and join us in picking up some of the trash in the neighborhood, I don't mean people, I'm talking about trash, and so we can join that and then make up our Laurel even better and cleaner. So thank you very much.
Okay, anything else? Meeting's adjourned.